This is Abdul Saad, clinical psychologist at Vital Mind Psychology here in Sydney, Australia, and I'm recording my fourth video on the topic of narcissism. In our first video, we described the psychology underpinning narcissism. In our second video, we talked about the core emotion or passion at the heart of narcissism. In our third video, we discussed the childhood origins or the typical childhood pattern of the narcissist. And in this video, we will be discussing general guidelines and strategies for dealing with narcissists. Shout out to the subscribers. Thank you very much to everyone that's commented and engaged with the videos. It's been very gratifying to see that the videos are getting the views, the videos are engaging people's minds and hearts, and I hope that it can continue to be of value. With regard to the comments section, please note that I can't provide advice on specific matters relating to situations you're dealing with. As a psychologist, that would not be ethical. So please refrain from asking me for direct advice about very specific situations you're in with colleagues, with co-workers, with family members. That is more in the domain of working with an individual therapist. But I'm happy to respond to comments about general matters, theoretical or technical matters that I've mentioned in the videos, or things that aren't of a personal nature. And I'm also aware that I don't want people to make themselves more vulnerable than they need to be in the videos by disclosing a lot of personal information about themselves. So please keep that in mind when you comment and engage with the videos, which I very much welcome. The other thing I want to add before I proceed is that obviously this topic is very complex. We've only touched the surface in our videos, and never forget that in many instances where you have been affected by a narcissist, self-help books, YouTube videos, well-meaning friends often will not be enough, and you will need the help of a competent mental health professional, a licensed psychologist, a clinical social worker, a counselor, a psychiatrist, etc. Okay, on to the strategies for dealing with narcissists. And remember, these are going to be general strategies and guidelines. I'm not going to go into too many specifics of how you are going to apply these with colleagues or co-workers or partners or family members, because this is where we get into murky waters where I can't give people direct advice. So these are general guidelines and strategies, and what I'm giving these out as a way to give you some ideas, some guidelines, but not any specific advice. So please remember that. Okay, that is specific advice relating to your specific situation. So the strategies and guidelines are broad, and you need to work out whether they apply to you, whether they can be helpful. Now, the strategies that I'm going to describe, 5 strategies when dealing with narcissists, flow directly from the videos that I've uploaded so far. So if you've taken the time to review the videos, to study them, to understand the content that was reviewed in them, these strategies will make sense, because we can't give guidelines or strategies for dealing with narcissistic individuals if we don't understand the pathology itself. So moving on to strategy number 1, the number 1 strategy that I recommend when dealing with narcissists is to know yourself and to know your vulnerabilities. And specifically, there's a number of features or aspects of people that can make them more vulnerable to narcissists. So it's good to know that if these are vulnerabilities that you have, to be aware of them, to work on them if need be with a competent therapist, so that you are less vulnerable to the destruction that narcissists can dole out in relationships, whether they be as employers, co-workers, or partners or family members. So what are some of these vulnerabilities that are very important? The number 1 is if you, for whatever reason, suffer from inner feelings of low self-worth, of low self-esteem, if you are quite hypersensitive to criticism, any of these are going to make you more vulnerable to the destructive effects of narcissists when they devalue you. So anything to do with low self-esteem, low self-worth, anything in your background along that, in that spectrum, is going to be really worthwhile for you to be very aware of and to have worked on and processed in whatever way is available to you as a way of protecting yourself against narcissists. Because narcissistic individuals often do their greatest damage with people who have these underlying vulnerabilities. And narcissists are very good at picking out these vulnerabilities and using them against us when we have them. The second vulnerability that I would point out that you need to be aware of if you have, so I'm only going to point out a couple, but broadly speaking, the advice is to know yourself. The second one is if you are a person that is very prone to being very giving to others, being very empathic, very warm. If you're a person that really takes great pride and pleasure in knowing what people need and then giving it to them from a really good place, that is also going to make you vulnerable to the narcissist, because you can very easily become a source of narcissistic supply, of ego supply to the narcissist, and then suffer from the devaluation stage when you are no longer needed. Okay, so strategy number one, know thyself. Because if you don't know yourself, this is where you can land into trouble with narcissistic individuals. Strategy number two is to be aware of the emotions that narcissists project onto us. In the first video, I talked about how one of the things narcissists do is they project negative feelings, disowned aspects of themselves onto others as a way to maintain their grandiose, entitled, inflated sense of self. So if you are routinely around a particular individual, feeling confused, feeling shame, second-guessing yourself, feeling like you're doubting your competence in areas which you're pretty competent at. If you are feeling feelings of rage, of wanting to get even, these are telltale signs that you're dealing with a narcissist and that you have internalized emotions that the narcissist may well have projected onto you. So these are disowned parts of the narcissist, disowned emotions which you have now internalized, and they're percolating inside you and they're making you feel really confused, really ashamed, self-doubt, etc., etc. Understand that those emotions could have their source in a narcissistic individual. So again, this relates to strategy number one, is to know yourself, know what your issues are, and understand how these can make you more vulnerable to beginning to take on some of the emotions and projected aspects of the narcissist which you internalize and which can create great inner turmoil for you. Strategy number three is have realistic expectations. And again, I'm talking broadly. I'm not focusing on a narcissist that's your parent or that's your partner or that's your coworker. Very broadly, with narcissistic individuals, have very realistic and minimalistic expectations. Do not expect the rules of reciprocity in relationships to apply when you're dealing with a narcissist. Narcissists are people that aren't very good at being empathic, at understanding other people's needs. And again, as I've explained, if you understand that they view you, me, and others as projections, as extensions of themselves, then you can understand that you're probably not going to expect a lot of reciprocity, a lot of empathy from this person. So the normal rules of give and take do not apply to the narcissist. So if you are an empath, if you are a helper, you are a giver, you need to be especially aware of this fact to avoid unnecessary suffering and pain. The fourth strategy in dealing with narcissists, and this relates to what we talked about with envy, is to limit your accomplishments and talents in front of the narcissist, because they're highly envious people. And sometimes this may mean that there are trade-offs. Sometimes you may make a decision, a conscious decision, to avoid getting praise or recognition for something if it means that you're not going to become the object of the narcissist's envy and therefore rage. Okay? So keep your next move close to your chest, so to speak. Keep your cards close to your chest. Do not reveal a lot about yourself around the narcissist, because they can often use this information against you, and that is not good news if you're doing that. Now, and this relates to my fifth and final strategy, which is please let go of any pride, of any fantasy of reforming the narcissist, or any fantasy of getting even with the narcissist. And I've noticed that with a lot of the YouTube videos, people are very keen to know, how can I get even? In my clinical opinion, this is a futile endeavor. This is a waste of time, because the narcissist has got so much invested in keeping their grandiose, entitled, arrogant sense of self afloat, that there is nothing that you can do to get even. In my opinion, a waste of time. A more constructive use of your time is to how to learn, how to work on your vulnerabilities, how to impose appropriate boundaries, how to increase your self-awareness, versus wasting your time getting even, because paradoxically that feeds into the narcissist's ego. That feeds into their narcissistic supply, that you are consumed with thoughts of revenge and planning and trying to understand what makes them tick. There's a role for that, but it should be limited, because otherwise it can become obsessive and your whole mental world becomes enwrapped around what the narcissist is doing. And that feeds into the narcissist's source of ego supply. So yeah, letting go of any pride, of any fantasies of reforming the narcissist, of getting even with them, of teaching them how to be, of how to be reciprocal. In my opinion, these very, very rarely do these attempts work, and they leave you even more hurt. So they were 5 key strategies for dealing with narcissists based on the information that I have provided. Take these on board. Try and apply them to your specific situation. Try and think about how they could be used. And if you're finding that self-help books, information on YouTube, advice you're getting is not enough, and if you're finding that a particular relationship, a particular issue is consuming you, then I would strongly advise you to use these videos and videos that are being made by other mental health professionals to be a springboard, to be an impetus for you to seek the professional help you need, because a self-help book or a YouTube video can never fully do justice to your unique situation, your environment, your temperament, your personality, even your biology, and a competent therapist takes all this into account and tailors the treatment to meet your needs. With that said, thank you very much. Forgive me if I'm a little bit lackluster today. I'm recording this video quite late in the evening after a long day in the office. Thank you for your comments. Some of them have been very interesting. Some of you have given me some very good constructive feedback. And I appreciate that. So I do read all the comments, even though I may not get a chance to respond to each and every one. Thank you so much. And I will try and catch you very soon, God willing. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.